Thank you very much, Chairperson. And I want to join with all my colleagues in congratulating the work of the rapporteurs and in what's a difficult file. And I suspect the debate that we are having at this committee and the variety of views that we're doing our best to articulate are broadly articulated in European society as to which way to go, because everyone wants companies, big and small, to pay their fair share of tax. We all want tax transparency. We want to reduce the opportunities for aggressive tax planning. That's a function of a modern democratic society, and it's something that we all want to achieve. But I think the way we achieve that is really at the root of this debate today. I passionately believe, Chairperson, that investment into Europe, direct investment into Europe from all parts of the world, is inextricably connected with tax consistency. I think businesses, big and small, especially the big ones, want to invest in Europe if they see a tax structure that is consistently applied and a tax structure that's transparent. In other words, an effective tax rate that is as close as can be possible to the actual tax rate. And of course, as you look across our European Union, the truth is that different member states have different policy as an outcome of their own history and industrial policy. I come from a country that was ostensibly, up until the early 1960s, an agricultural-led economy. But it has chosen to use FDI development and a huge capacity on exporting potential globally to reposition our economy. We have chosen that particular route. I remember very well at the moment of the Irish financial crisis when I was in government, and huge pressure was put on a variety of Irish governments to change Irish corporate tax policy. We argued at the time the best way to keep investment in Ireland and elsewhere in Europe is to make sure that we have a consistent, clear and transparent tax rate, and that's exactly as it happened. The reason why corporate taxes in Ireland have virtually doubled in the last 6 years isn't just about a repositioning of the economy, it's as a consequence of the OECD BEPS agenda, which is working across the European Union. The reason why we're getting more from the corporates today is because much of the aggressive tax planning on a phased basis is now being dealt with in the context of the OECD. And I think that is the best route to follow if we are really serious about addressing this question. I do believe, like Mr Hochmar, that taxation policy is a function of sovereign democratic states. I think tax competition is a good thing. I argue that keeping funds in Europe, keeping investment in Europe, competing with each other, isn't a race to the bottom, it's a race for efficiency. It's ensuring that we can continue to get investment from all parts of the world coming to our European Union. And I think that is something that we will debate about and be aware of, but I think it is something that is entirely good from the perspective, especially from those smaller member states who don't come from hugely industrial societies, who have to reinvent themselves to stay alive, as against other larger states which have enormous domestic consumption as a function of their economy. That is not the case in smaller member states who have to become an export-led economy and by their very definition are more adept and aware of changing their model for the purposes of where they see economic development and investment in the world right now. So I think tax competition is good. I don't have this ideological hang-up on it at all. I think it's the best way to keep Europe strong and nimble in the circumstances of global challenges. One other concluding remark, it's this. We go into this debate without any understanding of the potential negative effects that this will have for the tax base of each of our member states. That does not seem to be a sensible proposal. That, despite what people are suggesting, a compensation commission and arbitration, all of which seems like kind of 1950s socialism gone wrong, that we're going to reorientate ourselves around this idea that we can compensate each other for the losses In my country, this could affect our corporate tax base for the purposes of up to a third. And I want to know, and I want my constituents to want to know, who's going to pony up the difference at the end of the year if Irish corporate tax is out by €2 billion? Who'll make up the difference? So, for bigger member states who have enormous domestic economies, who can play around with these figures because at the margins they make no difference, these make enormous differences for smaller member states in terms of our future economic planning. So, we have attempted, those of us who have these views have attempted in our amendments, and I want to congratulate especially Mr Ferber and others for looking on these amendments and seeing what's possible. But we go into this with a realism in trying to position all our economies in a fair and transparent way. That's all we're looking for. And I think if we do that, we can get an outcome that is fair for all. Thank you very much, President.